While President Trump hailed a brand new deal, some Canadian readers say they felt bullied into a trade agreement. ImagePresident Trump and Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, parties to a new trade agreement finalized Sunday. CreditCreditJonathan Ernst, ReutersThe United States, Mexico and Canada finalized a new trade agreement Sunday to replace the North American Free Trade Agreement, or Nafta. The new deal, called the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement, staves off a trade war, reassuring some Canadian readers who said they were pleased with it. But many Canadians took to our comment section to tell us that more than anything, they are angry over how the deal was achieved. They called the Trump administration's negotiating tactics bullying techniques and name-calling, rather than diplomacy. A selection of comments from Canadian readers is below. They have been lightly edited and condensed for clarity. If you hold a gun to the head of your much smaller and weaker neighbor to force him to give you a few more apples off his tree, and he complies, I guess you could call that success, but no one would call it a reasonable negotiation between friendly neighbors. Let's be very clear about that. Nick Wright, Halifax, Nova Scotia. This is a bad agreement for Canada. We gave up far too much while the Americans gave up nothing of consequence. We failed to capitalize on Donald Trump's vulnerability and succumb to his bullying. We too suffer from bad leadership. Trudeau has made a habit of posturing on issues that are important to Canadians. Then he does exactly the opposite. Randall, Canada. If US won't find a fairer trading partner than Canada. The numbers verify this. Canada won't forget the bully tactics and incivility of Trump at all in these supposed negotiations. Thanks, friend. JC, Toronto. Alan Rapport, a Times reporter, answered questions about the new trade deal among the United States, Mexico and Canada. I'm a Canadian and a U.S. permanent resident working in the U.S. I feel like the trade deal is a win-win situation, although the U.S. benefits more, and Trump got a big win. Sure, Canada would have preferred the status quo with Nafta, and it would have gotten that with any other U.S. president, Republican or Democrat. But by signing this deal, Canada has avoided a recession, which Trump could certainly have caused with a stroke of his pen. For Trump, he secured some important things. None earth-shattering, but he basically got something for nothing, so it's no doubt a win. Ray Fox, New York. My view from Canada is that our negotiators managed to at least stave off the more contentious Trump demands, getting rid of the Chapter 19 dispute resolution mechanism, which would have made it very unfair for us, and keeping the cultural exemptions clause, which prevents American media companies from taking over the Canadian media landscape entirely. So I am glad that our negotiators stuck to their guns on those two things. Also, I think the rules regarding the auto workers will be good for both the Canadian and American auto workers. There were some concessions from Canada on dairy products, but we are talking about a less than 4% concession, and I think Canadian consumers might find a way to buy Canadian whenever possible. In the end, given that a no-deal situation would have been devastating for a lot of businesses on both sides of our border, I think it made sense to sign the deal. Wendy, Canada. No, a lot has changed except for the name. The dispute resolution mechanism still remains intact, and the United States is not getting any additional access to Canadian dairy than they would have received under the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Could have had this 18 months ago. Sorry, American friends, but Trump only replaced Nafta with Nafta and caused strained relations with his neighbors. TK, Canada. As a Canadian whose career has been tied to the automotive industry for years, the future of Nafta has always been top of mind. After all the bluster, what has Trump achieved? Virtually nothing that wasn't already agreed in the aborted TPP agreement negotiated by the previous administration. The access to the dairy market was already done. Trump may think that a new name makes it a new deal, but this excuse for an administration has wasted 2 years to disrupt everything, and achieve nothing. View from Europe. Paris Agreement is largely a refresh of a 25-year-old pact that has brought together the economies of Canada, Mexico and the United States but had become somewhat outdated in the digital age. Trump can call it a triumph if he wants, but for all his huffing and puffing and threatening to blow the house down, the essentials of Nafta, aka to his base is the worst deal for America ever, remain intact. List Quebec do not consider the friendship resurrected. The feeling up here is that Canadians will not soon forget the treatment from our supposed ally. We are a small nation that will never have much of an impact on the U.S. economy. However, there is a collective sour taste left in the mouths of many Canadians. Kevin, Canada people here will buy what they like, but there is this sensibility now that we shouldn't unquestioningly support the U.S. like we used to do. The USA has gone from friend to just neighbor in the minds of many Canadians. It will take a generation or so for that to wear off. Canada concluding a trade agreement is usually an occasion to affirm and celebrate friendship between nations. This one feels more like a non-aggression pact. More like stable wariness than genuine friendship. Peeking through the fence. Vancouver Murray-T.A.E. McDermott contributed reporting. Want more Canadian coverage in your inbox? Subscribe to our weekly Canada Letter newsletter. A note to readers who are not subscribers, this article from the Reader Centre does not count toward your monthly free article limit. Follow the @ReaderCentre on Twitter for more coverage highlighting your perspectives and experiences and for insight into how we work. Leila Moore is an audience writer for the Reader Centre. She covers reader reaction to breaking news and popular articles on topics ranging from politics to business to sports. She also moderates the New York Times Reader Centre group on Facebook. @RunLilaire on Facebook.